Now we will talk about the new regime. Come. Shall we? That we will talk. That we will talk now. Once we opt, then whether we can change or not, etc. We will see that. Okay. This regime is applicable for individual HUF, AOP, BOI, artificial juridical person. The very first amendment is earlier this regime was only applicable to individual HUF, not for these people. Now this is applicable for everybody. Check. Okay. First of all, read this paragraph. This has become your default tax regime. Everybody has to by default follow this only. Correct? Are you clear? If you want to go for the regular regime, exercise the option. Okay? Shall I go ahead? Shall I go ahead?
Sir, this is called as alternative tax regime.
This is not alternative. You cannot say this as an alternative tax regime now. This is a default tax regime. The old regime will be alternative tax regime now. Because that is an alternate to your normal provision. This is your normal now.
Yes, sir.
I cannot call this as an alternative. Na? That's the reason I have not put this tax rate in that chapter. Earlier, this tax rate was also in that chapter only along with company and cooperative society. I removed that from here and put here. Are you clear?
Yes, sir.
Because this is now which regime?
Default regime.
By default mandatory regime for you. It is not an alternate. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Alternate is the old one. Correct. Now, how the tax rate and slab rates will be learned? Learn the table of 3 year and learn the table of 5 year. 3 1s are 3, 3 2s are 6, 3 3s are 9, 3 4s are 12, 3 5s are 15, 5 1s are 5, 5 5s are 25. This was the shortcut given by a CA student. Arey sir, this is the 3 ka table and 5 ka table. Arey, I said yes, yaar. Why to remember all these things? For every 3 lakh, 5% is increasing. Check. Is it clear? Is the rates clear? So in the rates, there is a clear advantage here. Correct? Over the old regime, there is a clear advantage or not here? I have put a lot of questions on this. That will be solving tomorrow. Okay. Now, keep one thing in mind. This 3 lakh is for everybody. Even senior citizens will come under 3 lakh only. There is no separate limit for senior citizen. Super senior citizen cannot say, I want 5 lakh. No, nothing is there. 5 lakh like this is not there here. Are you clear? Tell me now, please. Shall I go ahead? Now, rebate under 87A is available up to 7 lakh rupees, 25,000 rebate. Check. In old regime, how much it is? Up to 5 lakh rupees rebate is there. And how much rebate? 12,500. Now you just compute tax on 7 lakhs. Compute tax on 7 lakh. It will exactly come 25,000. Compute now. So 25,000 fully rebate. So up to 7 lakh, no tax. Okay. Above 7 lakh, you will apply the slab rates and you will take the tax. Okay. Now, very important issue which I have just addressed to you all. Again, I am addressing. See here. Mr. A. Mr. A. Age 55 years. Resident following new regime. That is the default one. Okay, Palani? Suppose his total income is 7 lakhs. Okay? What will be his tax?
His tax 0, sir.
0, right? Suppose his total income is 7,27,770. What will be his tax? Tell me. You tell me what kind of number it is, sir. What hopeless number you have given, sir? 7,27,000. Yes.
Sir, 27,777. 27,777.
Comes how much it comes to 27,000? Right? 27,000. 780 can I take approximately? Right? Or 770 I can take thoda bahut here and there, it is fine. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now for this extra income, see here Palani and Vignesh, very important point. How much is the extra income?
27,770.
Is the extra income 27,770 is the extra income, right?
Correct, sir.
Now for that extra income, how much is the extra tax?
27,770.
You will get full rebate. Relief, marginal relief. When marginal relief is available? When your extra taxes is greater than or equal to your extra income, correct? Are you clear? If your extra tax is greater than your extra income, correct? You will get marginal relief, right? Now, if your income goes beyond this now, if your income goes beyond this amount, whatever income you take, listen carefully, it's a mathematical calculation which I have done for you. If your income go beyond this income, then your extra tax will always be lower than your extra income. You can check at your home. So this is the break-even point. Are you able to understand or not? This is the break-even amount where your tax is coming more, income is coming less. You can take an example. Take your total income is 730. Take Palani. If your total income is 730, please tell me what is the extra income and extra tax. Extra income is 30,000. What is extra tax? Tell me. Extra tax is lesser, income is more, correct? Then marginal relief is not available. So that is the exact amount on which marginal relief will stop after this income. Are you clear? So remember this amount. I have done this amount by following interpolation, which you do in financial management. Have you done interpolation or not in financial management? I have to do trial and error na, to reach to this amount. How will I come to know I am God or what? I will come to know the exact amount. While finding the IRR, you do not trial and error. So I have done that. Is it clear? Yeah, I'm giving the screenshot. Check. So even if your income is up to how much? If I have an income of 725, still I'll be paying no tax, right? 726 no tax, correct? 727, 727, 780.
My income, my tax.
You have to pay tax then. 727, 780. Tell me. Yes, you have to pay tax because then your income will be more. Okay. Cess we don't compare with cess. We compare with tax only. Is it clear, all of you? Please tell me. So this relief was not given in which regime? Tell me. Old regime not available. Okay. Now, Special income will be taxed at special rate. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now that is a surcharge. Relaxation in surcharge also in new regime. See, the maximum surcharge in new regime is only 25%. Check. It is not 37%. Check. The maximum surcharge in new regime about 2 crore. Anything you earn, it is 25%. Check. Is it clear? But in the old regime, what was the surcharge? Above 5 crore?
37%.
Year above 5 crore, how much surcharge will be there? 25 only. So all rich people are going to come here. Okay.
Okay.
All poor people are also going to come here. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Because 7 lakh exemption, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Rich will also come here because no surcharge of 37%.
Correct, sir.
Now who will take decisions in life? Arey, middle class people and slightly rich people will have to take a call. Which option is better? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Is it clear?
Sir.
Now, there is 1 or 2 points which I will say and then I'll stop. There is too much content which has gone to your mind in today's lecture. Okay. Yes or no? So, the surcharge table is clear now to all of you? Here also same points. If all the companies, all the members of the AOP are only company, then surcharge cannot exceed 15%. Okay. Now, the scheme of partial integration will apply here also. That will do later on, which you have done in CA on Inter also. Do you remember that? For agricultural income, you do partial integration. First compute tax on agricultural and non-agricultural income both.
Yes, sir.
Then compute tax on agricultural income and basic exemption limit.
Yes, sir.
Then compute what? Difference between the two.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That we will do sometime later. But that is applicable for the new regime also. Okay. For new regime also you have to do that. And for old regime also you have to do that. Okay.
Pakka, sir.
Now one last doubt which I myself have. I don't know what to do in that case. I'm not sure about that issue. What will happen? Something which I'm not sure. I will not say anything about that thing. I'm not a god. I am a teacher ultimately. Okay. What I'm not sure about, you only tell me what shall I do. Okay. Suppose I'm an individual. Okay.
Okay.
And if I'm filing an ITR, if I'm supposed to file an ITR, okay.
Supposed to correct. Okay.
Now, when an individual is liable to file ITR, please tell me. No. I'm not asking the date. I'm not asking the date. I'm asking the obligation. When I am obligated to file ITR. Which income, yaar? Gross total income, na? Say completely, na? I'll kill you, huh? I'll kill you, both of you. Gross total income exceeds what? Basic exemption. This is what the law says in 139(1), right? Now I have a doubt which I have with CBDT. You also ask this doubt to CBDT. Which basic exemption? The new one or the old one? Why? How can you say 3 lakhs? How can you say 3 lakhs? If in my mind, if in my mind I have an intention to follow the old one, then no. That is the subsequent action, na. Before that, I have to take a call, na. If my income is around 2,70,000, if my income is around, then if I have an intention of following the new regime, then there is no need to file ITR. And if my intention is to follow the old regime, then I have to file the ITR, correct or not? Which one to follow? Now, what ICI has done is something which is very illogical. What ICI has done, see. Is this section 139? Now see what ICI is saying. Whose total income or total income of any other person without giving effect to these exemptions and chapter 6 exceeds basic exemption limit. Okay. Right? Now, for AY 24-25, the basic exemption limit is 3 lakh for individual HUF, AOP, BOI, artificial juridical person under default regime. These amounts denote the level of total income which is arrived after claiming the admissible deduction under 80CCD, 80CCH, 80JJAA under the default regime. However, the level of total income to be considered for the purpose of blah 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 whatever it is. Okay. However, where the assessee being an individual HUF, artificial judicial person shifting out of the default regime, the basic exemption limit is 2 lakh 50, 3 lakh and 5 lakh. Okay. These amounts denote the level of total income which is arrived after claiming exemption blah 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 blah. Now they are not saying anything. See, they are mentioning both the limits. Now which one to follow? Tell me. Which one to follow? If my income is 2,70,000, okay? And if the department send me a notice, why have you not filed the return? I will say I was thinking of filing in new regime. That's the reason I have not filed. Go. I can say that not to the department. Tell me now, please. Which basic exemption limit? Yeah, they should clarify that. Na basic exemption limit as per new or old. A senior citizen will have a further problem. Super senior citizen will be having great problems. Because for them, the old regime has an exemption limit of 5 lakhs, right? I am a super senior citizen of 85 years. My total income is 4.5 lakh. Okay. I will not file the return. But if the law will say, no, you have to follow the default regime to determine whether to file or not, then that is not clarified in the law properly. Tell me now, please. So, which basic exemption limit? Even ICI is not sure. Which they are saying different basic exemption limits are there. Did you understand the problem or not, Palani, Mr. Palani? Mr. Palani, did you understand the problem or not? Okay, so let's wait for the CBDT to answer this. I hope they will clarify this soon. Okay. Now let's go ahead with some conditions and restrictions which the government has put over here. Shall I start? The following conditions should be satisfied in order to avail the benefit of lower tax rate under the default tax regime of 115 BAC. Eligible assessee from the AY 24-25 default tax regime is applicable for underlined individual HUF, AOP, BOI, artificial juridical person. Okay, it's applicable for these people. Now one can go for an option may be exercised to opt for what? Optional tax regime, that is the regular tax regime. So if you want the regular regime, then you have to opt for it, correct? You cannot by default get it. Okay. Now these provisions are applicable to everybody, resident, non-resident, it doesn't matter. It is applicable to everybody, assessee earning income from any source. Okay, check it please. Any source of income is fine. Okay. Okay. So now the biggest drawback of this section, whereby you have to lose, you have to sacrifice a lot of exemptions and deductions now. Okay. So these are the incentives which are going to be blocked. These are not going to be available to you. The total income of the assessee is calculated under the default tax regime without claiming the following deductions and exemptions which are otherwise allowable under the alternative tax regime. Alternative tax regime is which regime? The old regime, right? So something which is allowed in the old regime, not allowed here. So what are the exemptions and the deductions which they have taken from us? Shall I speak? First, I am talking about the salary exemptions. First of all, you will not get the leave travel concession. Check. Okay. Okay, Palani. Now, one of the biggest common exemption HRA not available in this new regime. HRA gone. All these special allowances gone. All the special allowance whose exemption is given under section 1014 is gone. Let me give you some of the examples. See here. CA Inter you would have done. Tribal allowance, children allowance, education allowance, high altitude allowance. Yeah, there are a lot of allowances. All exemptions gone. But certain exemptions still available because it is written other than. Therefore, traveling allowance and conveyance allowance for official purpose allowed. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Other than these two, and one more is there. Other than these three, nothing will be allowed. Transport allowance of 3,200 per month, which is allowed to blind, deaf, dumb, and orthopedically handicapped, if you remember. There was a special allowance of 3,200 only to blind, deaf, etc. people. So that will be available. Okay. Are you clear? So only these three allowances are allowable. Traveling allowance, conveyance allowance, and transport allowance of 3,200 per month for blind, deaf, dumb, and orthopedically handicapped people. Are you clear? MP MLA allowance gone. MPs and MLAs get an allowance of daily and constituency allowance which is exempt under section 1017. So their exemption gone. Okay. Minor child 1,500 rupees exemption gone. Check. Clear. 10 AA gone. SEZ deduction gone. Then exemption of perquisite in respect of free food and non-alcoholic beverage, that is rupees 50 per meal provided through paid voucher. That is also gone. This 50 rupees also they are not leaving. So there was a perquisite of what? If the employer gives you free food, non-alcoholic beverage, that is 50 rupees per meal was exempt. Okay. But now that is also not exempt. Okay. Entertainment allowance gone, which is allowable to government employees. Remember? 5,000 rupees. 5,000 rupees. Professional tax gone, which is around 2,500 approximately. Right? Gone. Now the next point, very carefully see. Very carefully. That is the one of the most important point. Self-occupied interest is there na deduction? 2 lakh rupees. Gone. SOP interest is gone. LOP interest is not gone. Be very careful. Are you clear? LOP interest allowed. Let out property is allowed. You can write it down there if you want.
For allowing let out properties interest alone.
You only tell me what can be the reason. Why? Let out income is not everybody does not have a let out income, Palani. Self-occupied property everybody has. Let out property, everybody doesn't have their entire. What is the objective of bringing this regime? Please tell me. Why they are bringing this regime?
Well, the government does not get into the clutch of finding whether this is a deduction. or
Yeah.
not.
So let out, everybody does. Do you let out property? Do you let out property, Vignesh? Even I don't let out property. So everybody doesn't have a let out property. There is no need to check these people. Okay. Additional depreciation not allowed. 3280 not allowed. Now 3280 is not relevant also today. It is over now. It is removed now. Tea, coffee, rubber not allowed. Site restoration fund not allowed. Okay. Okay. Then see the same 4 sections not allowed. It means what is allowed? 1 and 1 is allowed. Okay. That is only for company 2AB. Is it clear? 3580 not allowed. 35 CCC not allowed. Shall I go ahead? 80C to 80U, nothing is allowed except for deduction, which I have made you write while teaching chapter 6 also. First, employer contribution to NPS 80 CCD subsection 2 allowed. I have told you this, right? Agnivir Corpus Fund allowed 30 80 CCD CCH subsection 2. Correct. 80 JJAA allowed and 80 LA allowed. These are the 4 deductions which are allowed. Are you clear? Please tell me. Are you clear? Now, some big benefits. See, the standard deduction of 50,000 of salary is allowed now. Last year it was not allowed. So this 50,000 standard deduction is given by Finance Act 2023. Okay. Family pension allowed, which is, do you remember how much it was? Family pension deduction? 15,000 or 1/3 of family pension, whichever is lower. 15,000 or 1/3 of family pension, whichever is lower, allowed. These two are allowed. Okay. Are you clear? Yes, last year it was not allowed, both of them. Then, interest on PPF will remain exempt, as well as the maturity amount will remain exempt. See here, PPF interest will also be exempt, maturity amount also exempt. Similarly, Sukanya Samriddhi scheme, interest and maturity amount will be exempt under the new regime also. Are you clear? Sukanya Samriddhi scheme and PPF, when it is matured, both interest and the final amount, whatever amount you receive, fully exempt. Okay. But when you contribute to PPF and when you contribute to Sukanya Samriddhi scheme, listen carefully now, ATC will not be allowed. Because ATC is completely not allowed, yaar Palani. Why are you asking why, sir? So be very careful. ATC not allowed. In ATC, both of them are covered or not? PPF and Sukanya Samriddhi scheme. Please tell me. In ATC, PPF and Sukanya Samriddhi scheme both are covered. Correct? But not allowed under new regime. Are you clear? Only on maturity it is exempt. Clear? Are you clear? Now all the perquisite valuations will be done in the same way, the way you do. Okay. There is no changes in that. Okay. Are you clear? All the perquisite will be valued in the same way, the way we do in the chapter of salary. Now I don't think so this should be important. because the chapter of salary is removed from your syllabus. Okay. So they should not test you on all these things. If there is a loss or UAD, listen here, if there is a loss or UAD which comes because of the above deductions, like 35 AD, 3512, 3513, additional depreciation. If it loss comes because of these, they're not allowed. Okay. Check. Now a very important line where most of the student gets confused. See here. This line is a very important line. Don't read and let me know what is the treatment of self-occupied loss under the new regime. Arey, don't read this. Tell me the treatment of self-occupied loss. House property. Arey, under new regime, what will we do? Self-occupied loss, house property. Arey, just now you have done na yaar. That's what I am asking. Say na, what is the treatment? Not allowed to set off, right? That is lapsed. Correct? That is lapsed na? Yes. What about the other loss? Listen carefully. There is a restriction in other laws also. Any loss under the head house property, okay, cannot set off with any other income under any other head of income. Check please. Now what do I mean by this sentence? A very important line it is. This is talking about LOP loss. Which loss? LOP loss. LOP loss, if you have in the new regime, you can set off only against house property income. You cannot set off the LOP loss against the salary income or a PGBP income or a capital gain income or an IFRS income. Not allowed. It is blocked. It is blocked. So listen carefully. My two words. First, SOP loss is directly blocked. And LOP loss is only allowed to the extent of LOP loss only allowed to the income of LOP income only. It is not allowed to set off against other heads. Is it clear to all of you? Be very careful. Again, I am saying SOP is blocked. Not at all allowed. And LOP loss only set off against HP income, not against other income. Is it clear? Normal depreciation will be allowed only to the extent of 40%. I hope you know where 40%, more than 40% is allowed. Okay. Now assessee going for alternate, assessee going for this tax, this regime. See here, one of the big advantage, AMT is not applicable. Okay. AMT is not applicable. Is it clear? Now, see here. Please see here. This regime is going to be the by default regime, as we have been saying again and again. Correct? Right or not? Right or not? Your voice is not coming. Now, what if I want to opt for the normal regime? What if I want to opt for the old regime? Okay. Then can I go for that? Yes, you have to fill an option. Okay. Now, see the provision very carefully. See here. If you do not have a business and profession income, okay, you don't have PGBP income, say you are salary assessee, HP assessee, IFRS assessee, capital gain assessee, okay, then you have an option to go for what? The old regime, okay. Palani, are you listening or just sleeping? If you don't have a PGBP income, you can go for what? Old regime on a yearly basis. Okay. On a every year you can switch in and switch out. Check. Are you clear? You can read the example below. Okay. On a yearly basis, you can switch. This year, if you want the new regime, you can go for new regime. If you want the old regime, you can opt for the old regime. In the next year, again, if you want to go for the old regime, you can go for old. You can go. If you want to go for new regime, you can go for new regime. Okay. Palani, is it clear? Now listen carefully, please. Shall I say? Now see, what if the associate has a PGBP income? Now there are a lot of twists and turns. Listen here. If an associate has a PGBP income, lot of twists and turns. By default, what you will get? New regime. Okay. But if the associate opts, it will get what? Old regime. Now, once the associate has opted for old regime, okay. Now, next year associate cannot change. PGBP associate is not allowed to change. Yes, once old regime, always old regime. Again, listen, yaar, Vignesh. By default, you will get which regime? New regime. Okay. If you do not do anything, you will follow under which regime? New regime. Now, suppose if you want to opt for what? You can opt it. But if you opted for old regime, then you have to go for old regime only in subsequent years. Okay. You cannot switch in on a year-to-year basis. Okay. Shall I go ahead? So, say for example, you opted for old regime in the current year. See here. You opted for old regime in the current year. So, next year, which regime you will get? Old only. But here the government is giving you once in a lifetime option to go back to new. How many times? Once in a lifetime. Say after 3 years, if you feel that I want to go back to new, you can go once. Okay? So after 3 years, you felt that no, I want to go for new regime, then you can come back to new regime. But then throughout your life, you cannot again go back to old regime. Okay? So listen carefully. By default, which regime? New regime. Can I opt for old? Yes. Then subsequent years, which regime will apply? Old will apply. But can I come back to new? Once I can come. Once I come back, can I go back to old? Then it is not allowed. But the law says that yes, you can go back to old if you cease to have PGBP income. Say after 10 years, PGBP income is not there. Only salary is there, HP is there. Then can I go back for? Can I go back for the new regime? Yes. Then you can yearly switch if there is no PGBP income. Are you clear? So complicated it is. Again, I am asking. By default, Palani, speak. Don't. Your exams are there nearing and you're not saying anything. By default, which regime you will fail? Or by default, what you will take? You're saying both. New regime. Can I go for the old regime? If I go for the old regime, then what is my duty? You have to follow old regime now. Can I come back to new regime? Only once you can come back. Once I come back, can I go back to old regime? Only possible if there is no PGBP income in future. Okay. Is it clear? One more point is there. See here. Suppose I opted for old regime. Okay. In the current year. Okay. I filed the return. I opted old regime. Now in the current year, I cannot come back to new regime. That is not allowed. By filing a revised return. That is not allowed. In the current year, I opted for old regime by filing a return in July, and in September, I feel that I should revise the return, come back to what? New. That is not allowed. If you want to come back, you can come back in the next year. In the same financial year, you cannot revert back to the new one. Okay. Now you can read this paragraph if you want. If an assessee has a PGBP income and no option is exercised, he will be governed by which regime? Default tax regime, new regime. Can the assessee avail the benefit of optional tax regime? Yes, such option can be exercised on or before the due date of submission of return under 139(1), and such option once exercised shall apply to what? Tell me. Subsequent assessment year also. However, the option once exercised for any previous year can be withdrawn only once for a previous year other than the year in which it was exercised. Are you able to understand? I cannot withdraw in the current year. If I want to withdraw, I can withdraw in subsequent year. And thereafter, the person shall never be eligible to exercise the option of availing the benefit of optional tax regime, except where such person ceases to have any income from business or profession. I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay. So if you have no business and profession in future, then you have an option to go in either of the regime. Okay. Because this restriction is only to a PGBP assessee, not to everybody. Rest all are free. So it's a good option now, at least for the salaried assessee. For salaried assessees, they are always free to opt which one to take. Okay, they can take the decision on a yearly basis. Yes or no? Salaried people can take decision on which basis? On a yearly basis, they can take a call. Right? They will get 7 lakh rebate also. Correct? They will get lower tax rates also. But yes, they have to lose all the deductions, all the exemptions. Self-occupied interest of house property 2 lakh rupees. They have to lose all those things. Okay? Now one last thing. Pay attention. See here, Palani. I am employer, you are employee. Okay? And I am paying you salary.
Okay, sir.
So I have to deduct TDS, right?
Yes.
So I should deduct TDS as per which regime now? So listen. By default, I will deduct TDS as per the new regime only. Okay? I will deduct TDS as per which regime? New regime. Now, if you employee, you are wishing to opt for old regime, then you have to give me a declaration. Okay? At the beginning of the year, obviously. Okay?
I have to already go and give, or
You have to give me the declaration. They are not going to ask you anything. Okay? So you have to give me a declaration. If you give me the declaration, I will deduct TDS as per which regime? Old regime. Now, once you give me a declaration, then you cannot change the option during the year. Okay? After 6 months, you are saying that no, deduct as per new, then employer will not change. Okay? Then employer will deduct as per old only. Is it clear? If we don't say anything, then he will deduct as per default regime or new regime. You cannot. You can change at the time of filing the return. While filing the return, whatever you want to do, you can do. Okay. This is just for the purpose of TDS.
Yes.
So again, I am saying, I am employer, you are employee. By default, I will deduct TDS as per which regime? New regime. Can you give me an option? Can you give me a declaration for old regime? Yes. If you don't give any declaration, I will deduct as per new. If you give declaration, I will deduct as per old. Correct?
Correct, sir.
Now, once you give the declaration, then I will deduct as per old only. Then I will not change during the year. Okay. Now, after the year end, you have to file the option while filing the return. Okay. That you have to do. Giving me declaration, that does not mean that you have opted for the option. For that, you have to find the requisite form before filing the ITR. Okay. While filing the ITR, whatever you want to do, you can do it. Check it, please.